Hi all, today we will discuss about passing array to a function. Before going to discussing about passing array to a function, we have to revise functions. So the major elements of user-defined functions are function definition, function call, and function prototype. So at first, we move to function definition. Here, we write the body of the function. A body of the function consists of statements which are going to perform a specific task. Next is function call. With the help of function call, we can call a particular function at the required place of the main program. Then we move to the last one, that is function prototype. The function prototype is also known as function declaration. Here, the calling program will declare all the functions that is to be used later in the program. Usually, the function declaration is done before the function call is made. Next, we will do a revision about actual and formal parameters. Inside the function elements, we are use this actual and formal parameters. So we have to do a revision about the actual and formal parameters. At first, we move to actual parameters. The actual parameters are values that are passed to the function when it is invoked. That means the actual parameters are present inside the function call. Then the specialty of the actual parameters, here we are not mentioning about the data types. Here only the value is mentioned. So in the case of actual parameters, we have to memorize two important things. The first one is the actual parameters are present inside the function call. Second one is in the case of actual parameters, we are not mentioning about the data types. Then we move to the formal parameters. The formal parameters are variables defined by the function that receives values when the function is called. That means the formal parameters are present inside the function definition. Then the specialty of the formal parameters is the data types of the received values should be included. So in the case of formal parameters, we have to keep in mind 2 points. First one is the formal parameters are present inside the function definition. The second one is in the case of formal parameters, we will mention about the data types of the receiving values. Next, we will do a revision about the syntax of elements of user-defined functions. We know that a function contains mainly 3 elements. So at first, we move to function definition. So the syntax of function definition is return type, function name, then inside a bracket, we will have argument list. Then after that, inside the curly bracket, we will put the body of the function. So we move to the main section of the function definition, and that at first we will have return type. This return type will give an idea about the data type of the values the function return to the main program. Then we have function name. Here we will write the name of the function. Then inside the bracket we will have argument list. This list is actually the list of formal parameters. I'm already discussed about the formal parameters. They are actually variables. Then in the case of formal parameter, we will define the data types of those variables. So for explaining more about the syntax, we need an example. So consider the example and sum. Inside the bracket, we will have int a, comma, int b. So this int represents the data type of the value the function will return to the main program. Then sum represents the name of the function. Then inside the bracket, we will have int a, comma, int b. Here a and b, they are variables. and the first int represents the function will accept a value. The data type of that value will be int. That value is loaded in the variable a. Then the second int represents the function will accept another value from the main program. The data type of that value will be int and that value will be loaded in the variable b. Then we move to the second element of the function, that is function call. The syntax of the function call is function name. Then inside the bracket, we will have argument list. Then after that, we will put a semicolon. So here, the function name at that place, we will write the name of the function. Then inside the bracket, we will have argument list. Then this list is actually the list of actual parameters. I'm already discussed about the specialities of actual parameters. They are actually values. And in the case of actual parameter, we are not mentioning about the data type of those values. So consider the example, that is sum. Inside the bracket, we will have 2, 3. Then we will put a semicolon. Here, sum is the function name and 2 and 3, they are actual parameters. They are values. Okay, then we will move to the third function element, that is function prototype. So the syntax is return type function name. Then inside the bracket, we will have argument list. Then we will put a semicolon. So consider the example, that is int sum. Inside the bracket, we will have int, int. Then we will put a semicolon. So this int represents the type of the data the function will pass to the main program. Then this sum represents the function name. Then inside the bracket, we will have two ints. The first int represents the function will receive a value from the main program. Its data type will be int. Then the second int also represents the same thing. The function will receive another value from the main program. Its data type is also must be int. Next, we move to today's topic, passing array to a function as an argument. So at first, we will discuss about passing one-dimensional array to the function. When passing one-dimensional array to the function, we have to obey some rules. Rule number 1, the function must be called by passing only the name of the array. For explaining this statement, consider an example, that is sum. Inside the bracket, we will put a, and after that we will put a semicolon. So here the sum represents the function name. Then inside the bracket, we will put a. A is the array name. When we are putting the array name a here, actually what we are passing to the called function is the base address of the array name a. Then we move to rule number 2. In the function definition, the formal parameters must be an array type. The size of the array does not need to be specified. Consider the example, int sum, inside the bracket int x, then a empty square bracket. Here, this int represents the data type of the value this function will return to the calling function. Then the sum represents function name. Then inside the bracket, we will have a formal parameter, that is int x, then empty square bracket. This empty square bracket informs the compiler the formal parameter x is an array of numbers. Then why we are putting this empty square bracket here is this function can use for any size of arrays. So we move to rule number 3, that is the function prototype must show that the argument is an array. So consider the example, int sum, inside the bracket int, then we will put a empty square bracket. After that, we will put the semicolon. This is an example of function declaration. Here, this int represents the data type of the value that this function will return to the calling function. The sum represents the function name. And after that, inside the bracket, we have int, and here we are not mentioned about the array name. We will just put the empty square bracket. This empty square bracket will inform the compiler that this function will accept only array of integers. Next, we will discuss a program using function. The name of the program is to find the sum of array elements using function. Here, we will use a function to find the sum of array elements. So let us move to the program. At first, we will write the header file. And after that, we will write the function declaration. The function declaration is also known as function prototype. So consider the function declaration, that is int sum of numbers. Inside the bracket, we will put int, then we will put an empty square bracket, then we will put comma, then we will put another int, then we will close the bracket, and we will put the semicolon. The first int represents the data type of the value the function will return to the calling function. The sum of numbers, that is the function name. Then inside the bracket, here we will put two arguments. The first argument is int, then a square bracket. This argument will inform the compiler that this function will receive only array of numbers. The second argument is this int. This int will inform the compiler that this function will receive only integer values. Then we move to the void main section. So inside the void main, but first we will declare the variables used in the program. So that is I, then size, then the array, then addition. These variables are declared. Then after that, we will call the printf function. Then the statement we return in the printf function is please enter the size of the array. Then we will call the scanf function. With the help of that scanf function, the size of the array is stored in the variable size. Then after that, we will call another printf section. The statement is please enter the array of elements. Then we will call the help of a for loop. The condition we return inside the for loop is I is equal to 0, I less than size, I plus plus. Then after that, inside that for loop, we will call a scanf function. So with the help of for loop and the scanf function, the elements of the array is filled. Then after that, our next aim is we have to find the sum of elements present in the array A. That value is stored in a variable addition. So at first we will write the variable addition. That addition is equal to, we have to call our function. So the function call is sum of numbers. Then we will put a bracket. Then inside the bracket we will put two arguments. One is A and another one is size. This A represents the array name. Actually, what we are passing to the called function is the base address of the array A. Then after that, we will have size. Inside the variable size, we will have the value of size of the array. That value will be passed to the called function. Then next is the control will comes to the called function. So this is the function definition of the called function. That is, in sum of numbers, inside the bracket, we will put two formal parameters. So in that, the first int will represents the data type of the value the function will return to the calling function. Then we have the function name, that is sum of numbers. After that, inside the bracket, we will have two formal parameters. The first formal parameter is int A. We will put an empty square bracket. This first formal parameter will receive the base address of this A. The base address of this A is received by this array A. Then next formal parameter, that is int size. This formal parameter will receive the value present in the variable size. That value will be stored in the this formal parameter's name is also size. And after that, we move to the body of the function. So here also we have to declare all the variables used here, that is addition and the variable I. And after that, we will call a for loop. Then what is the use of this for loop is we have to point each of the element present in the array. Then we will write the statement, that is, with the help of the statement we will do the addition operation, that is addition is equal to addition plus a of I. By executing this statement, and the sum of all the elements will be find, and that value will be stored in the variable addition. Then after completing this for loop, the value present in the addition variable will be returned to the main program. When we pass an array to a function, we have to follow one more rule, that is rule number 4. So what is rule number 4 is, if a function changes the values of elements of an array, then these changes will be made to original array that passed to the function. For explaining this idea, we need a program. So consider this program. This program contains two functions. One function, first function for incrementing array elements. The second function is used for printing array elements. So we move to the program. At first we will write the header file. Then after that we have to declare the functions used in the program. Here we are using two functions. So we have to declare these two functions. So consider the function declaration. At first we will declare the increment array. That is void increment array. Then inside the bracket we will put int. Then we will put a empty square bracket. Then after that we will declare the print array. Then in this two function declarations, here we will put void. So what is the meaning of that void is, these two functions will not return any value to the calling function. And after that we move to the main section. Then inside the main, at first the array, the actual array, we have to initialize the actual array. That is int array. This array contains 4 members. That is equal to members are 10, 20, 30, 40. Then after that we will call the function, that is print array function. So when we call the print array function, the control will comes to the print array function. So that this is the function definition of the print array function, that is void print array. Inside the bracket we will put the formal parameter, that is int arr. Then we will put an empty square bracket. Actually what happens is, when we call the print array function, this array has a base address. That base address is passed to this array. The name of this array we used inside this print array function is arr. So then inside the print array function we will have a for loop. Then that for loop is used for pointing each element in the array. Then with the help of this for loop, every element in the array will be printed. So let us let's have a look about the output. That will be 10, 20, 30, 40. Then after that the control will goes to the main program. Then the next statement of the main program is, we have to call the increment array. So this is the function call of the increment array. Then the control will comes to the increment array function. Then inside this increment array function, every element in the array will be increment by a value of 1. Then after that the control will comes to the main program. The next statement in the main program is print array, that is the calling of the print array function. So again the control will comes to the print array function. So here what happens, each element of the array will be printed. Then the output will be like this, that is 11, 21, 31, 41. So before calling the increment array function, the output is 10, 20, 30 and 40. Then after calling the increment array function, we will again print the array. That time the output will be 11, 21, 31, 41. Why this happens is, when an entire array is passed as an argument, the content of the array are not copied into the formal parameter array. Actually, here the information passed is about the address of the array element. Due to that reason, any changes introduced to the array element are truly reflected in the original array in the calling function. Next, we will see how to pass a two-dimensional array to the function. Here also, we have to remember some rules. At first, we move to rule number 1, that is, the function must be called by passing only the array name. For explaining this statement, consider the example, that is array fun. Inside the bracket, we will put a, then we will put a semicolon. Here, the array fun is the function name. Then inside the bracket, we will have a. That a will actually indicate the name of the two-dimensional array. Actually, this array name will pass the base address of the two-dimensional array to the call function. Then we move to rule number 2. The rule number 2 contains two parts. At first, we will move to part A. Part A is, in the function definition, we must indicate that the array has two-dimensional by including two sets of brackets. Then part B is, the size of the second dimension must be specified. So for explaining these two statements, consider the example, that is void array fun. Inside the bracket, we will have a formal parameter. So at first consider this void. This void represents this function will not return any value to the calling function. Then this array fun, that is actually represents the name, the function name. Then after that, inside the bracket, we will have int. Then we will have ptr. This ptr is the name of the two-dimensional array. And after that, we will have a pair of empty square bracket. After that, we'll have another pair of square bracket. Inside that, we will put a value, that is 3. So this two square brackets will inform the compiler that this ptr is a two-dimensional array. Then in this two pair of square brackets, the first pair of square brackets is used for pointing the row. The second pair of square brackets is used for pointing the column. In that, we must have to specify the size of the second square bracket. Then we move to rule number 3, that is, the prototype declaration should be similar to function header. So consider this example, that is void array fun. Inside the bracket, we will have int, then we will put two pair of square brackets. So this statement will indicate that this two-dimensional array will receive only numbers. Next, we will discuss a program to print two-dimensional array using function. Here, we will use a function to print the elements of the two-dimensional array. So we move to the program. At first, we will have the header file. Then after that, we will declare the function. The function declaration is also known as function prototype. So this is the function declaration, that is void array fun. Inside the bracket, we'll have int, then two pair of square brackets. After that, we will put a comma, then int, again comma, then int. Then we'll close the bracket, then we'll put a semicolon. Here, this void indicates that this function will not return any value to the calling function. Then array fun, that is the function name. Then inside the bracket, we'll have int and two pair of square brackets. This will informs the compiler that the function will receive only two-dimensional array of numbers. Then we will have this int. This int will informs the compiler that the function will receive integer value. Then this int will informs the compiler that this function will receive another integer value. Then we move to the main of the program. Then inside the main section, we will initialize the array. The array is a 3 into 3 array. That means it contains 3 rows and 3 columns. Then these are the array elements. This is the row 0 element, and these are the row 1 elements. Then these are the row 2 elements. Then next is we will call a function to print the elements of the two-dimensional array. So that function call is array fun. Then inside the bracket array comma 3 comma 3. Then we will put a semicolon. Here array fun is the function name, and this array is actually the name of the two-dimensional array. This name will pass the base address of the array to the call function. Then this 3 and this 3, they are values. These values are also passed to the call function. So next the control will comes to the call function. So this is the function definition of the function, that is void array fun, then inside the bracket int, then ptr is the array name, then we will have two pair of square brackets. Inside the first square bracket we will put 3, then inside the second square bracket also we will put 3, then we'll put comma, then we'll have int, then we'll have a variable that is row, then we'll put comma, then we'll have another int, we'll have another variable that is column. So here we will have 3 formal parameter, and that the first formal parameter is actually a two-dimensional array. This two-dimensional array will receive the base address of this array. Then next formal parameter is int row. This variable row will receive this value, this 3, the value 3. And next formal parameter is int column. Then this call is actually a variable. That variable will receive this value, that is value 3. This 3 will receive by this variable column. Then this is the body of the function. Here we have to declare the variable I and j. Then we will use two for loops. These two for loops are used for pointing each element in the two-dimensional array. With the help of two for loops, all the elements will be printed. Then this is the end of this section. I hope all of you understand this section. Then all of you please try this programs. Thank you.